Hello everybody, this is Huschenbeth and welcome to another game analysis. And today I would like to cover my game from the US Masters 2017 played in Greensboro, North Carolina. And the game I would like to look at was played in the fourth round and my opponent was Grandmaster Dmitry Gordievsky, rated 26-14, so a little bit rated above me. And just to give you a little bit of background, we both had won our first 3 games in the tournament and we met on board 1 in the fourth round. So without any further ado, let's get to it. I was playing with the white pieces and start out with my usual move, 1e4, and he goes for my favorite opening of all, I would say, the knight off with either color. I really like to play it, and I go for the sharpest of all moves, bishop g5, and he replied knight bd7. That's what I expected, but what I didn't expect him to play was g6 here. What he had played in the past twice was to play h6 first and then go g6. So I had a little think and I decided not to go f4, which I think is the main move, but I went castle because I also kind of want to surprise him. And somewhere in the back of my mind I remembered to have seen something in the book from Parmanigi where he shows his white repertoire or gives the white repertoire against the knight off, and I remembered something with h4 and I knew it can't be both f4 and h4, so let me just castle first and then figure things out. Now bishop g7, and now I go h4, and that's actually, I checked afterwards, that is the move that Nigi recommends. That's quite interesting. And here my opponent went h6, and I retreated to e3. But actually what's better and what is in the book by Nigi is taking on f6, and after bishop takes, knight takes runs into e5, which would be very strong. After bishop takes, white goes h5 and has nice play on the dark squares, on the light squares, excuse me. So this would be a nice position for white. Alright, bishop e3, and now he goes h5 to stop me from playing g4. This is actually a typical way to play in those kind of dragon positions we have now. It doesn't really resemble a knight off anymore. To play h5 to give white a hard time achieving g4. But on the other hand, it gives me the square on g5, so I go back, play bishop g5. And, well, one of the traps I was hoping for, okay, little trap b5 that runs into knight c6, followed by knight takes e7, winning a pawn, because black cannot take back due to the fork and the bishop is pinning the knight here. Of course my opponent avoided that, he played queen c7, and now I had to think about how I'm going to set up my pieces. But I found a decent way, I think, g3 and bishop g2, kind of a natural way to develop. And now my opponent played a natural but not so good move, bishop b7. The best move was knight b6. I actually didn't even look at this during the game, probably because I was assuming, well, there's going to be e5 and so on. But e5 doesn't really work here because after bishop takes a8, e takes d4, I have 2 pieces hang and I will not keep my material edge, quite the opposite. So knight b6 would have been best also to be ready to answer knight d5 by taking, for example, the b knight on d5, not the f knight. So this would have been stronger. Another move I looked at was b4, which maybe didn't make sense to my opponent to provoke me to go knight d5 when that's my intention anyway. But the point is that the bishop still stays on c8, and that can be useful in some lines. For example, here after knight e5, f4, he has this move bishop g4, and it's just complete mess. I could go for this, play queen e4, when after bishop takes d1, f takes e5, I would have wonderful compensation for the exchange. So black should probably go knight c4 and then knight c6, and it's all craziness. Computer continues with knight takes b2, and okay, well, let's not get into this too much. Just b4 is another option was there. So bishop b7, and now I go knight d5, and I was quite happy with my position. I was especially happy to see the next move, because that meant, okay, I definitely have a good position. You play queen b8, and if you have to play queen b8 here, if you cannot make knight takes d5 work, then it definitely means something went wrong. Of course, black doesn't want to take with the bishop, because that would give me the beautiful square on c6 for my knight, but knight takes c5 was what I was looking at mostly. Now I threaten checkmate, and black is having difficulties to deal with this. He could castle when I don't want to take on e7 yet because of rook e8 problems, but g4 is now possible, and that just means trouble for white. For black. I mean, here probably just continue on h5 and rip open the black position, and this is a dangerous attack for black to face. So also, what else? Knight e5, then I can go f4 and just continue on f5. And you see that this move h7, h5 earlier also has drawbacks, as the pawns are a little bit weaker, and it's easier to create holes in the black position. So my opponent apparently also didn't like those positions, and he went queen b8. And here I played a terrible move, honestly. Played rook he1, because I didn't really realize what he wanted to do next. Well, I thought I did, but I didn't. I should just go king b1. That's the typical move in all these Sicilians anyway. Improve the king position and then see what he's going to do next. And if he plays as he did in the game with e5, then I can take on f6 and play knight b3. And the point is that the rook, it's not clear yet where it ought to go. So putting on an e1 doesn't make any sense. Why did I put on e1? I thought that he would play e6, and then I want to do some stuff, knight takes f6, followed by some e5 stuff, and that's why I moved it. So it was also a prophylactic point, but well, I had only seen e6 and not seen e5. And after e5, the rook is not so well placed. So now it's important I take on f6, because if I move my knight right away, well, here black would be happy because he doesn't have this weak pawn on e7 anymore. It has advanced to e5, so this is certainly okay for black. So what I do now, I give black a weak pawn on d6. I take on f6 and then move back with my knight, and now I have a new target, the pawn on d6. And also another problem for black is his king. It doesn't really have like a safe shelter in the position, as if the black castles short side, I always have this option to go g4 and open the position up in front of the king pretty quickly. So he took on g5, takes, queen c7, improving the queen, also stopping knight a5. And I thought, well, let me renew those threats by going queen d2 for one, having knight a5 as an option, as well as threatening queen takes d6. And he played a strong move, which I didn't see coming at all. He played a5. I only thought he must cover the pawn of king e7, protected, but he didn't. He played a5, and I could have taken on d6 now, but that was not really what I wanted from the position. Not really my style either, to cash in here like that. And I think black has good compensation. He pushes back my pieces. There's a lot of space here on the king side, and that's just not what I want to play. So I went for king b1 to be able to retreat with my knight to c1 if necessary. King e7. So he has to protect the pawn at some point, obviously. Otherwise, I would indeed take it if I don't have to put my piece on two awkward squares. And now that was my plan all along, to go f4, f5, f6 and gain more space, and also put the king into jeopardy. He went rook hg8, intending to, well, get the rook into a game, possibly defend a pawn later on, and then he can retreat to f8 without having the rook stuck on h8. So I continue with my plan, f5, and he goes a4, I go knight c1, and now he took on f5. If he was to go a3, then I probably would have played f6 check, because if I go b3 now, what I didn't like here is that black can take on f5, take on g2, and then go queen c3, and forcing me to go knight d3, and this queen on c3 is rather annoying, so I didn't want to allow that. So I would have first played f6 check, king retreats, let's say to e8, and then probably keep the position close with b3. I mean, computer says I could also take on d6 here. Well, actually it also kind of looks attractive, to be honest. But I also like b3 and somehow getting through to the black king. Still pretty unclear position. But he took on f5, takes back, takes, but taking on f5 is probably too much here, because my attack turns out to be stronger than his attack. And here he went b4. I expected a3, when again b3 would transpose to a line we just saw, but I can go knight d3 here. Takes on b2 and knight b4, and I have these threats, the knight is also defending well, so I think I'm doing fine here, doing pretty well in fact. So you played b4, and now I played rook h1, which was a good move. The point is I want to go f6 check, take on h5 and checkmate the guy more or less. And one critical line I calculate was, what if he goes all in, plays a3, but then I go f6 check, king e8, rook takes, and if a takes b2 now, I can go rook h8, knight f8, and queen h3 is a nice move, stopping the king from escaping. And the point is, okay, he can take on c1, but then what else can he do? Nothing, because I'll checkmate him on h8. That's the point. Rook takes f8 is impossible to stop. So that was an important line. I'm sure he saw that too, and he decided to do something else. He went b3. And now I don't want him to trade queens on c2, obviously. So I took on b3 and asked him, okay, show me what you got. And indeed, if he takes back, knight takes b3, really there is no attack going. The knight is guarding, a checkmate, and I'm gonna continue with, like I said, f6 and so on. So he went knight b6, and here I played pretty logically, but there was a better way to play. I went f6, but I could have just taken on h5, and if a3, I think this was the move I was a little bit worried about. I can go f6 check now, king d7, and important move here, rook d3. Intending to put the rook on c3, and the point is that after a takes b2, I win on the spot of queen h3 check, and rook c3, winning the queen. Okay. But I like what I did from practical reasons, certainly. I played f6 check, king d7, queen h3 check, and I push the king to the queen side, and that means it will be also in the way for black's attack. King c6, and now I played rook d3, getting my rook to c3, still has to run, king b7, go rook c3, queen d7, queen g2 check. Could have also taken on h5 here. Okay. I saw that now I can play knight d3, and I quite like to put my knight on c5, and indeed it is winning here. Just, well, there were other ways as well. Queen d6, knight c5 check, king b8, b4 also makes sense, stabilize the knight, keep the a file closed, rook a7, and here I took a longer think. And yes, there are many ways to play, but there's no like obvious one. And I didn't want to take on h5 because I was getting a little bit worried, and I think rook d1 once again is a good move. I just spent a little bit too much time on that one, but it was all fine. Rook d1, he played d4, and now I play queen e2, which was another good move. I'm proud I found this move, because, well, black's not threatening anything, and I'm just improving the position of my queen and taking control of the c4 square, as well as maybe sometimes I can also go to d5. For example, if he goes knight d5 here, which he did, never mind. Yeah, queen b5 wouldn't do that much quite yet, but maybe later on it would. Well, just to point out real quick, you cannot take on c3. I would take the queen, play queen takes e5, follow with knight e4, and that's game over. So you went knight d5, hitting my rook, but I just go rook a3 now. That's what I meant. He cannot take on b4 now. That's important, because then I play queen b5, pick up the knight on b4. So he goes king a8 to renew this threat, and I play queen e4, pinning the knight. Went king b8, and I go queen e2. You're like, well, what are you doing here? You're a pawn up. You're winning, right? Why are you repeating moves? Well, by doing this, we reached the 40th move. That meant we got another 30 minutes on the clock, and now I could take all the time to figure out how I'm going to win this position, because I was pretty sure it is winning, and indeed it is totally winning in fact. But you don't really have that kind of feeling over the board. I mean, you have a good feeling maybe, but you're not like, oh, this is +4 or so, right? But in fact, it is +4. I went back to e4, and now I played rook e1. I actually had a stronger move here, c3, and now check this out. Now, of course, I don't take back. That was a problem because of knight takes c3. Black unpins himself and wins the exchange on c3. But I can just play a very nice move, king c1, and just go out of any checks. And this pin is just absolutely horrible for black. Just can't get out of it because the knight on c5 is so strong. And that's just it. Just nothing for black to do. I can take on c3 next, play c4. Can even take with the rook maybe, and c takes b2, king takes b2 doesn't change anything because the king is still far away from any checks, and now I have rook hd3 coming up next as well, so that would have been much stronger. But I saw rook e1, saw that I can attack this pawn, and I was quite happy. He played knight takes b4. If he goes rook e8, I want to go, well, here c3 would be also strong, but I want to go queen d3, play queen b5, and things of that nature. So this is also very good for white. He went knight takes b4. I was happy because I saw, okay, we reach this endgame. I'm 2 pawns up. It's got to be winning. But still, there are some, well, dangers. Even in completely winning positions. Well, let's say winning positions, not completely winning. And here, in fact, I gave away a lot of my advantage. I should go knight takes a4, or maybe knight d3, something like that, but I played rook takes a4. And what my opponent and I both missed was that he can give a check on e1 first, and then go rook e3. And why does he give the check first? Well, now it's a double threat. He's threatening a pawn on g3, as well as to go knight b4, followed by a checkmate. I of course saw these moves individually, first knight b4 and first rook e1, then knight b4, but I didn't see this kind of combination. And here this would have really made my task much more difficult. One way would be to go knight c3 now, which maybe I would have found, maybe not, who knows. And the pawn is that black cannot take because g6, and the pawn, one of my pawns with queen here, if f takes f7, and if rook e8, I can go g7, followed by rook takes h5, rook h8. So this is winning. Yeah. Well, you really have to see this. And for example, knight e5, I can just take on e5. So if the knight c3, black can take on g3. Well, maybe there's like knight d8, something like that. Maybe that's the best defense because if the rook takes g3, knight e2, my knight gets to f4, and well, computer at least says I'm winning here again, probably because there's g6 threat as well as knight takes h5. Yeah, that is pretty unpleasant. Yeah, but in either case, I mean, this is the way to go for black because practically it makes it much more difficult for me to win. King c7. And now, well, I missed it again. I played knight c5, allowing the same idea. I should go c3, and then, for example, d3, king c1, and Still some technical difficulties maybe, but white should win. But I was like, okay, let's get the knight back into the game, knight c5, but this, like I said, is allowing the same thing, and here actually under even better circumstance, but fortunately my opponent also missed this idea altogether. I mean, here maybe the best try, well, there are different tries, but maybe, I'm not even sure if this is the best try, but one try would be to go knight e6 and now go g6. Same idea again, but king takes a6, picks up the knight, threatening checkmate again, so I have to go b3, takes on g6, and also black gets the rook. And might be very well that black can set up some kind of fortress here with his far advanced pawn. Maybe he can put the rook on c3. Yeah, this, I don't know. Maybe white still has a chance to win this, but it would have been really difficult. But fortunately for me, he went king d6, and now knight d3, and I'm protecting against rook e1 check, and that's it pretty much. And also, I'm having intentions of going knight f4, and well, there's not a lot black can do. He went knight d8, and here I just went b4, just get my pawns rolling. I thought if knight f4, rook e5 would be an issue, and this knight in game wasn't completely clear to me because his king is so much more active than mine. So b4 is a good move because there's not much black can do anyway. If he goes knight e6, I can go knight e5, hit the pawn on f7. He would need to go back or stay passive for rook f8. And if, well, rook e3, that's what he did, yeah. Well, what else can he do? Not much. So rook e3, but now I just go g6, as always, and if rook takes g3, I go g7. So this is winning, of course. Here, I just go rook h8. And h2, I just take. So he played f takes, I go f7. He has to give up the knight, otherwise I'll get a queen. And now it's just conversion really, and that wasn't too hard. I just bring my king closer. Played rook h7 first to keep an eye on the h pawn, so it makes it more difficult for him to advance. Now I have to get rid of the king in front of the pawns, and that's what I did. Bring the king closer, and now I decided to go for this, which I thought, okay, well, this is, I guess, very simple for me, because if it's just one pawn there, obviously my rook stops it easily, and there are different ways to win here. Could also just advance my pawn somehow by going like knight c4, king c5, b5, but I was like, okay, let's just get rid of the pawn, get the knight back to the king side, and then it's just over. So there's nothing black can hope for here, and that's why my opponent resigned. So very tough fight, obviously, and it shows once again it is a difficult task to win winning positions, but this time I managed, and that meant I was on 4-4 after this game. And in fact, you might as well check out the analysis of my next game, which I played in the 5th round against another strong grandmaster, Andrei Stukopin. You'll find the link to this in the description. Well, maybe not the day I'm uploading this, but probably the day after, because I like to not publish too many videos on one day, but then it will be there. So let me know, as always, if you have any questions, any comments about this game, and if you haven't subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? Then you'll be always notified when I publish new videos like this one, so feel free to subscribe, and I wish you all a wonderful day. Bye bye.